So if you work on cars at least semi-frequently, you've probably run into this issue where the brakes are working fine and then suddenly they're not. So we're going to see how hard it is to rebuild a brake master cylinder and if you can do it yourself at home. I haven't done one of these before, so it'll be interesting. Oh, come on. Now this is just a standard old Ford PBR unit, Australian made, but I think they're very similar to the American ones. But as you can see, it is in rough shape. Anyone who's been following along with the XA Falcon build will know that the brake fluid that came out of this was terrible. The main unit was leaking and the pedal would just go straight to the floor. That's not what you want to see inside your brake master. So I think the first thing to do here is just going to be to give everything a bit of a soak down with some penetrating spray. And probably, I'm almost tempted to drop the whole thing in the dip tank, ultrasonic cleaner, because this thing's gross. Notice that just here, there is a bolt, which I'm hoping is the retainer for the plunger. So we'll pull that out and see if we can get the plunger out of this thing. It comes apart easy enough. There's a small copper washer on it. You can just sit over there for a second. You got the big nut on the front here, which I'm pretty sure just holds the jetting for these. Well, that's tight. I don't believe the spring should be bent like this. We'll stick that over there anyway. And now I think I am going to just dunk it in the parts washer. Parts back from the washer. Now we'll just give them a scrub down and see how we're looking. I'll tell you what, ultrasonic cleaners are a wonderful idea. I do not recommend them highly enough. Plunger's very stiff and stuck, and it should by rights sort of pop out further. So we'll just give it a couple of light taps and see if we can get it to move. Now we're just going to give it a quick scrub down, make sure everything looks and acts the way it should be. Thought about painting it, but I don't think it's actually required. So I figured while we're going, we'll give this thing a bit of a touch up too, because it looks like it's had a bit of a hard time. I did find this though. It's an old reconditioning sticker from Bendigo Specialist Brake and Clutch. So I don't know when that was done, but it was a while ago. As you can see on the bottom here, you can see where all the fluid's been running past, running down the booster, just sort of eating into everything. So we'll give it a check and a clean and make it look pretty again. Okay, so this is supposed to pop out, but apparently they get stuck. So, oh, hang on, there we go. All right, so this is the first part, and it looks about kind of what I expected. However, the bore of the actual cylinder itself, if you can see, you can't. It looks okay, so that's good. Now the question is, can I get the secondary out? I don't feel like it's going to want to come out because it's quite in there. It's just a standard Protex kit. It's just got your basic seals and things in it. It's nothing special. And it'll cost you about 60 bucks or so, somewhere in that range. Even after a full clean out, still lots of sludgy mess in that rear cylinder. Very disappointing, but I actually didn't have the camera running when I got this out. I chucked a little bit of compressed air into here after I got it freed up, and it shot out like a gunshot, which was cool. So these seals are just ruined because they're just falling to pieces. They've got no dexterity left in them. They're just shot. So that's fine, we'll replace them. So what we might do is we'll pull these seals off. We'll clean these parts up and we'll double check what we're looking like. And we're back. Everything's cleaned up again. There is some major corrosion on the back side of this, which could be bad enough that it was making it not work. But I don't think so. I actually think it was just the fact that those seals were bad. This one, same thing. It's got a little bit of external damage, but overall it's actually not too bad. So we'll throw these new rubbers in, we'll get everything cleaned up. The bore itself is quite good. There is no scarring, marking or anything terrible in there. All looks quite good. So we'll get it all cleaned up, we'll put it back together, and we'll see how it goes. And there's actually a little collet and retaining ring here on these. That, by the looks of it, that's a press-on fitting, but to get it off seems like just a terrible idea. So we're just going to stretch press back around. It goes on just fine. Looks pretty much the same as it did before. Now what I've found is it's actually easier to go well and truly past the little collet thing here, then pull it up and then bring the rubber back, because that way you can sort of just slip it in behind, because these rubbers are quite flexible, so they will kind of conform. Make sure you well lubricate the thing before you try and force the seals back in, otherwise the units tend to get upset and not work. Oh, that's very crisp. So I'll put him back in, and then this little pin here is what retains it, so I'll put that in too. Okay, new pin in, new seal kit in. Again, make sure everything's nicely scrubbed up so it doesn't rub on the way through. That one's tight. I think that's good. Well, new seals are back in. Everything looks the way it should. It's clean, so we'll get it all back together. We'll try and bleed it and see what it wants to do, and see if it's working. Okay, so we're now up here with my makeshift bench bleeder. Let's see if this thing is actually going to do something more than it was doing before. So these things are a cheap kit that you can get off eBay or Amazon or whatever. You literally just plug your hoses up where your brake hoses would normally go with these hoses, a bit of fluid in each cylinder, and what that'll do is it'll recirculate the brake fluid around, and then you just bench bleed like you would normally. And it would appear, oops, everything's working the way it should be. Plenty of pressure, plenty of bubbles. We'll go through, we'll get that bled, we'll get it put back together, and we should be right to go back in the car. And then we'll put everything else back together and see if the brakes work. There you have it. One nicely, mostly refurbished master cylinder. Takes about an hour, so maybe a little bit longer depending on how stuck the parts are. But overall, I thought that wasn't too bad. So eventually, we'll get back to doing some more work on the Falcon. And when we do that, you'll get to see whether this actually worked or whether I just wasted a couple of hours. Anyway, guys, I hope that helps you out. There'll be some more of this old girl coming up very soon. And we'll see you in the next one. Catches.